Hello everybody, my name is Jacob Wolfe. Welcome to another very reaction. And this one is how to beat the death maze in Maze Runner, made by Cinema Cinema Summary. I keep getting his name wrong. I legit keep getting his name wrong. I did see in the other video that I did yesterday, that was uploaded a little bit too late, that I would be doing a game theory video or a film theory video or something along those lines. But then I went to my recommendations and saw, oh, that's actually uploaded. Let's do a video on that. So I decided to do a video on one of these, man, because the other one did so well, apparently. Over 100 views so far. Thank you guys for that. So, since you guys like these videos so much, I decided to do another one. So, yeah, no further ado, let's go and get into this reaction. Starting in 3, 2, 1, play.
If you wake up in the middle of an unbeatable maze that's always changing and is filled with bloodthirsty monsters, what do you do? The secret...
For the first time in my life, I'm actually speechless. Okay, let's continue. Wow. I'm like, wow.
Behind why you're here is terrifying, and you'll have to overcome the most impossible odds to get out of this alive. I'm going to break down
What is that thing?
And you'll have to overcome the most impossible odds to get out
Credit ripoff.
out of this alive. I'm going to break down the mistakes made, what you should do, and how to beat the death maze in Maze Runner. This kid has a one-way ticket to hell. He wakes up in an elevator with no idea how he got here.
Every one of the main protagonists in these types of videos pretty much do at this point.
The doors open and he sees a group of boys staring down at him. He's pulled out of the shaft and the group surrounds him, but he's completely overwhelmed. Scared for his life, he runs across the field in a panic, but stops as he realizes there's nowhere to go. 4 massive walls surround them, and everyone here is trapped inside with only one way out.
Wow.
He's thrown and locked into a pit with no idea what's going on when Albie, the leader of the boys, comes to introduce himself. He asks the kid if he knows where he came from, but he can't even remember his own name. The leader assures him the same thing happened to everyone else here, and takes him on a tour of their community. He learns that every month the elevator sends up fresh supplies and a new recruit, but they still haven't figured out why. They climb up to a watchtower, and that's where Albie here lays down the 3 rules he must obey.
I'm surprised that these guys are actually, well, as history has proven, humans are a very potent species. Well, not potent, but hard to kill. So I can understand how them, well, especially with supplies too. Depends what the supplies is. If it's like tools, weapons, stuff like that, then I can understand them. But it's just like food and just the basic materials. Again, how has not like a satellite just been able to pick them up or anything like? Because they're ginormous walls. I'm just going to like, I'm going to like speculation. So I'm just trying to just like comprehend the logic behind this a little bit. But it's surprising that they're still alive, but it's not too, if you know what I mean. And it's actually very surprising that no one's found them. Unless they're in an alternate dimension, which that could prove to be a very big issue. If they're not, then how in heck has no one, I mean like no one, found them at all? Like at all. Like a satellite, maybe a plane, anything. There's like what, 10,000 satellites Earth's atmosphere now, I think. I mean like, come on. Really? It is a movie, but still. Let's continue.
Must contribute to the community. No one's allowed to hurt each other and never go beyond the walls. But the leader has no idea that in 6 days, this place will be swarming with deadly monsters, and everyone will be breaking these rules to stay alive.
True.
Okay, as far as death traps go,
even breaking
this
rule number
everyone
2.
will be breaking no idea that
Even breaking rule number 2.
In 6
And rule
days,
number
this
1.
place will be
Okay.
swarming with deadly monsters, and everyone will be breaking these rules to stay alive. Okay, as far as death traps go, this could be a lot worse.
True.
If I had a choice to be stuck in a school and forced to kill my classmates, or stuck in Central Park, forced to pick berries and build tree houses.
Okay. So apparently they don't have abundance of food, but they have abundance of like tools like that. Okay. Well, they do have abundance of food, but they actually have to figure out where it is and what they can eat, like that. So, okay.
Seems like a pretty
Ow.
sweet deal, but there's one horrifying detail here that can't be overlooked. Albie here told us that everyone who comes up through this elevator doesn't remember anything about their past.
True.
And this is a dead giveaway about what this place really is.
A dead giveaway? How's that a dead giveaway?
In the next 45 seconds, I'm going to show you how you can get started in real estate, doing deals,
I'm
buying houses without
a
cash,
teenager. Why would I need to start in real estate?
These kids are experiencing what's called retrograde amnesia, which prevents you from recalling memories that were formed before whatever caused it, but it can't remove all memories from your entire life. Since all their memories are completely gone, we can deduce that this wasn't triggered by any natural causes like a head injury, trauma, or dementia. They still have their regular motor functions and language, but also their critical thinking ability in the prefrontal cortex is completely intact.
Oh.
That means that they can respond to a problem and solve it just as well as they could before, but without the help of their memories. If only the specific parts of the brain that control memory are affected,
what is this
the
then?
only logical alternative is that our memories are being intentionally and forcefully erased. Now, Albie here told us that they're given supplies in a new recruit every month, and judging by how many kids are here, that's a lot of months to accumulate this many people. If they've been here this by how many
from right here I can see it's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, I think 11, 12, 13, maybe, I can't really tell, 14, 15. It's the base minimum. I say base minimum. It's 15 months. So then we'll see. That's around 1 year and 3 months, right? Yeah, 1 year and 3 months. That's a while to be locked in there. A long while. Sheesh.
Here, that's a lot of months to accumulate this many people. If they've been here this long, then whoever's wiping our memories wants to keep us alive long enough to observe our behavior because they're sending supplies. This gives me enough to assume that someone is studying us like mice in the world's most expensive science experiment.
Okay,
and just like
that's
mice in a lab, it means we're all expendable for the purposes of scientific discovery. Later, the new kid goes
so that would actually contradict my statement about a satellite helping them, sort of. And if this is actually like a big operation, they could theoretically move alt flight patterns away from the island that they're located at, or at least the area they're at, and they could censor all satellite feeds of this place too. So in other words, they have no help from the outside world whatsoever. That's a terrifying realization, actually. Let's continue, though.
To check out the gate and sees two boys running through the walls opening. He asks his little kid Chuck why they're allowed to leave, and he's told only the runners can go into the maze.
Runners?
Curious, the kid walks out to take a closer look, but as soon as he reaches the opening, he gets shoved to the ground. He jumps up to defend himself, but the others run in to try and calm him down. That's when the leader insists they can't let him leave. But suddenly, he hears a roar coming from deep within the maze, and the wall begins to close shut. Something dangerous is waiting for anyone who tries to escape, and when they finally face it, only 9 of them will survive. That night, they have a
out of 15 is what I counted, too. And that's like a base minimum, too. There could be like 10 times, well, not 10 times, but there could be like 2 times more than that at maximum, I hope. But 15 minus 9 is 6. So 6 of them die. It's a minimum 6 of them die. Sheesh. Like I said in a few of my other videos, I think maybe. But survivor's guilt is a terrifying thing. It just wreaks havoc on people's mentality. It really does. Let's continue though.
On fire to celebrate this month's shipment of supplies.
Hmm.
The second in command, Newt, sits with the new kid and tells him about the runners.
Their
job is to map out the entirety of the maze beyond the wall, but they've been here for 3 years and still haven't
3
found a way
years?
out.
So if there's my number was drastically wrong. If they've been there for 3 years, 3 times 12 equals 36. So there are 36 of them. Minus 9 equals 27. So 27 of them die. Holy crap. That is... Oh. Alright. Let's continue this one.
Single night, the maze changes its layout, with monsters inside called Grievers that will kill anyone in its
Grievers,
path, that's
a brutal name.
The second in command leads him through the celebration, explaining they all have different jobs in the community. But that's when Gally, the chief builder, wants to see what he's made of.
Oh, builder, okay.
And the new kid accepts the challenge. They start to wrestle, and he quickly gets knocked to the ground. But when he hits his head, he suddenly remembers that his name is Thomas. Okay, our memory is slowly coming back, but if it's me, I don't care what my name is, because I'm way more concerned about these monsters.
Yeah, I'm like, oh yeah, my name's Jacob. Oh god, a mutant spiders over there. That's not terrifying whatsoever. I know my name though. I'll be like, I know my name, but I'm also already dead because I think ripped my guts out already. Let's continue.
This is not just a social experiment. This is a proper death scenario.
Yeah.
We aren't doing everything we can to eliminate these
Though,
monsters.
judging from how much moss is on those walls, I'd say that these walls were built at least 4 years ago. Base minimum, again, 3 years at least. Well, judging from how much concrete there is, and probably a mechanized structure inside of them, because, well, they can close and shut automatically. So this thing would have to take, that's at least right there, at least, from what I can see, 12 feet of concrete, and maybe, judging from his height, maybe, I said that he's like 5 feet at most. Well, not at most, but at least, we'll just take his 5 feet. I'm 5'6", I think, so we'll say that he's 5 feet. So that's at least 10 times his height. So at a base minimum, that's 50 feet. So it's 50 feet tall with at least 10 feet, or what do I say, like 20? I say 10 feet of concrete. So 50 by 10. That much concrete. That would take at least 5 years to make. And that's just the concrete. Not the... The dog really wants to come here, don't you? I mean, like, come on. I'm trying a video. I know they're switching off fireworks. But I can't help you. I can't. Ugh. Dogs confuse me. I mean, you can stay in here if you want to. Whatever, let's continue. But like I was saying, this right here would take at least another 2 years. So this together, we have to at least, at least in my opinion, have to take at least 5 years to make. Just to make it. How much money went into this, and for what reason? What reason? We'll probably find out here soon. So let's continue.
And escape this place, then even your name is a waste of time.
True.
Now, normally, as soon as I realize my life is in danger, I'd be sacrificing everyone here to stay alive.
Yeah, I could see a reason behind that.
We have no choice but to work together as a team for survival, so everything here needs to be looked at like it's a valuable resource.
I forgot, so most of these movies, morals will probably get you killed, so... Meh. I can see his reasoning.
And that includes the people in this maze. With a death trap this big, there's no way one person can beat this.
Is that like the actual picture of it? Then I was totally wrong. Like by a long freaking margin. This would take at least a decade to make, just from the complexity of this. The wall itself would take, depending on what year this is, most like this could be like, as much as I know, this could be like 2,500. But for our technology nowadays, this would take decades to make. At least, I mean, like, come on. Let's continue though.
This alone. So the faster we make friends, the sooner they can help us escape before we need to use them as meat shields.
Oh, that's brutal.
There's a lot of evidence that suggests these guys are getting complacent. They've been here for 3 years already, and the labor groups that they've organized themselves into are all for sustainable living and not for escaping. There's a whole team of builders, and all they've done is build houses, a prison, and a town hall for their weekly talent shows. If they're here another year, they might build a bank and a grocery store, and that's really the wrong attitude to have when monsters are at your doorstep. The next day, the leader formally welcomes a new kid into the tribe and gives him a knife to carve his name into the wall. Thomas notices that several names have been scratched out and is told that those were all the people who died since the leader arrived.
Wow.
Later, the new kid is put to work in the garden and asks the second in command if anyone has tried climbing the wall. The boy tells him it's impossible to climb because the ivy doesn't go all the way to the top. He tries to suggest another idea, but is quickly shut down as the kid insists they've tried tons of things to escape and none of them have worked. The second in command suggests
I can see the reason behind that. He's been there for 3 years. He's only been there for probably a day or two, so.
From the woods. Okay, I know this kid is new, but if I were him, I would be calling bullshit. This guy just told us that the vines don't reach the top, except they must not have looked very hard because I can see right here that they definitely do.
True.
Now, even though Newt here is wrong about the vines not reaching the top, he would definitely be right to say that it's a terrible idea.
Yeah.
Even if you could climb the vines, it would take an extremely skilled athlete with gorilla-sized forearms to actually make it to the top without falling to your death. Because this wall is insanely high.
Yeah,
in comparison
at least
to the
50 feet tall.
16-year-old male, which is 68 inches.
Okay, so he's actually going to. Oh wow, I was totally wrong again. But I was going for a base minimum too, but sheesh.
Wall must be roughly 200 to 300 feet tall.
Wow,
that's
okay.
the same height as the statue.
Okay.
Having said that, there are still plenty of other things we should try here, because reaching the top might tell us more about this death trap than they've learned in over 3 years.
True.
Now, a ladder might seem like an obvious choice, but this would actually be a terrible idea.
How?
It's too narrow, which makes it unstable,
Yeah.
and the structure isn't designed to support the length. But there's another option they've seriously overlooked.
A rope?
Bamboo can be used to build scaffolding structures as high as 60
Well, that's from Minecraft actually, but really?
stories, which is twice the height of this wall. Hong Kong still uses this technique today for both construction and renovation.
Really? I did not know this. This is really cool, actually.
The great thing is that they already have bamboo, as we can see right here. And if they don't have enough, they wouldn't have to wait for very long to get more, because bamboo is one of the fastest growing plants on Earth. These things can grow up to 3 feet per day, and they even self-multiply.
Really? 3 feet per day? Wow, okay.
It reproduces through rhizomes. I would suggest that we destroy this ridiculous town hall they've built themselves and use the corner of these two walls for extra structural support. By using the vines to tie the shoots together, they could build themselves something that the Chinese have been doing for hundreds of years and finally reach the top. Now don't get me wrong, because it would still be incredibly difficult and dangerous to build for a bunch of kids who haven't done it before. But if they haven't tried it, then I'll win the argument against this kid and his no-can-do attitude, and he can go and fetch his own.
Okay, so they actually proved my argument wrong again. Okay.
$7,000 sale, and you see the date.
These stupid things.
Thomas here is sent into the forest to gather more fertilizer for their crops, and on the way, he finds one of the runners standing still in the woods. He asks if the guy is okay, but suddenly gets tackled to the ground. The runner yells that this is all his fault, and the new kid has to bash his head with a goat skull to get free. He's chased into the clearing where he calls for help, and is rescued by the second in command, who knocks the crazed runner off of him. Holding the boy down, the group discovers that he's been stung by a griever, and the others carry him to the pit to keep the runner under observation.
Okay, so
Thomas here has no idea why the guy. Others
That's a lot of people. That's a lot of people actually.
Carry him to the pit to keep the runner under observation. Thomas here has no idea why the guy accused him, but he'll soon discover that he knows a lot more about this place than he realizes. Later, the poisoned runner is taken to the maze's entrance, and this kid, Min-ho, throws a bag through the opening. The boys start pushing the runner towards the labyrinth, and as the doors begin to close, they banish him to face the grievers alone. Okay, that was a very logical thing to do in this situation.
True.
Now, Albie here has already witnessed the terrible things that happen when someone gets stung, and it's the reason they're always banished to the maze. He insists that nothing good comes from keeping them inside, but I think there are a few problems with his theory. Once he changes, he will get stronger and more dangerous, and that's absolutely great news, because this means we can use him as a weapon of self-defense.
Yeah, but he's also a mindless beast that could turn on you in an instant and could overpower y'all easily.
All of these crossed out names of people were used as an army of the dead. This would be a much more useful way to deal with them. I would chain them all to the walls of the maze so that if a griever ever tries to attack us, we'll have advance warning, and they'll have to get through all of our stung friends before they can get in. Under the circumstances, if I was about to die, and I knew that even in my death, I was still protecting my brothers from the grievers, I would definitely choose that over any other option.
Okay, I guess
The
he's
next
logic
morning,
behind that,
he wakes
actually.
up and sees
They
the
actually
runner-
did it in The Walking Dead a few. I've never seen Walking Dead personally. My parents have. They told me about it, so I watched it once when I was like 9, and I was terrified ever since. But in a few clips that I have seen online, I did see they use the zombies as like either a warning system or just to ward off other scavengers, something like that. So that's actually a really cool idea.
Runners leave the glade along with the leader, Albie. He asks the second in command why someone that
I am
important
tired
would risk
now,
his
and I'm
life,
9.
and finds out he's gonna figure out how that runner got stung. Later that day, the boys wait by the maze entrance for the runners to return, but they're late, and the group starts to get worried that something terrible has happened.
Oh, that is
Thomas
not
here
good.
suggests they send someone to find them, but the second in command refuses. They won't let anyone risk their lives, and the gates begin to close. That's when Thomas spots the runners on the other side and sees Min-ho dragging the leader towards the glade. Everyone knows they won't make it, but the new kid refuses to leave them behind. He runs into the maze and reaches the other side just before the wall slams shut. Now all three of them are trapped inside where no one has ever survived the night. Okay, this was the mother of all bad ideas.
Yeah. Yeah, he's screwed, isn't he? Not most. All of these that I've seen so far, either the ones I reacted to or one I've seen in my personal time, always in a bad ending on them. Let's continue though.
Ideas. This idiot
Yeah.
rushed into the maze with no time to help them to safety and didn't even bother bringing them weapons or resources to survive. the
True.
night. Now, if I was Min-ho here, I would be trying to hide a big fat smile because now I have not just one, but two bodies that I could use as meat shields to feed to the grievers and run away. His chances of survival have just doubled and might become the only person to ever survive the maze at night. Now, these runners are like soldiers, and even when it's not the most logical thing to do for survival, they will risk their lives to save their brothers. If it were me, however, I would have let the leader for dead and used his own rules to justify it.
Wow.
Just yesterday, they banished this runner to the maze because he was stung. So by the leader's own logic, he shouldn't be let into the glade anyways. Now, there's a glaring problem here that needs to be addressed, because after 3 years of running through the maze, it's very likely that this situation has happened before. If I was a runner, I would have dug a tunnel under the maze entrance here, so that if we ever got caught on the wrong side, there was still a way to reach the glade.
Huh, that's actually a bad idea. But it depends what type of tools they actually do have access to. And it probably could take a few years to do that too, so.
Considering how many people have apparently been stung before, we would learn that these things are actually massive spider-like creatures that wouldn't be able to fit inside a human-sized tunnel. With this in mind,
True.
it would also be smart to use these tunnels to make shortcuts in the maze, so that they can both evade grievers and also to explore further into the maze quicker than ever before. It's honestly shocking how little they've done in 3 years to prepare for situations just like this.
True, but that's still a
Thomas here
movie
asks the runner what
too,
happened
so.
and finds out the leader got stung by a monster, but they suddenly hear a roar in the distance. Something is
They are
coming,
screwed.
and Min-ho says they have to leave, but the new kid insists they take the leader with them. Going through the corridors, they're
You
exhausted
are
from carrying
dumb.
him, and with the grievers getting closer, the new kid suggests they need to hide him. The runner tells them there's nothing they can do, but when Thomas notices a wall covered in ivy, he suddenly has an idea. They tie the leader to the vines and lift him up the wall to safety, but the runner notices a shape in the distance. Terrified, the boy leaves the new kid behind, and he has no choice but to slip underneath the ivy to hide. The monster approaches, and the kid sees its metallic legs pass by, but the griever doesn't notice him or the leader hanging from the wall. Coming out of hiding, he thinks the coast is clear, but when he turns around, the griever lunges at him, and the kid runs further into the maze. Suddenly, he bumps into the runner, and together the boys cut through a closing corridor.
So it has middle legs.
So
it had blades for legs, which, from my perspective, from my knowledge, blades and people don't mix. So, yeah, if he gets into a physical confrontation with those things, he's screwed. Like, legit, he's screwed. The only way he can actually beat one of those things is either fire or hotter fire. That's pretty much it. That's legitimately it. So let's continue.
Griever come around a corner, he taunts it to lure it through the closing wall. Following him in,
why wouldn't you taunt the thing?
And manages to
it knows where it's going. If it wants to, it can just lead you to another trap. Like, that's pretty much how it works.
The next morning, the maze door opens and the boys think their friends didn't survive the night. But just as they're walking away, the three kids appear in the distance. They set the injured leader on the ground as the runner tells them that Thomas here killed a griever in the maze, and all of them are speechless.
Wait, what?
Three kids appear in the at a corner, he taunts it to lure it through the closing wall. Following him in, he runs as fast as he can and manages to narrowly escape his death. The next morning, the maze door opens and the boys think their friends didn't survive the night. But just as they're walking away, the three kids appear in the distance. They set the injured leader on the ground as the runner tells them that Thomas here killed a griever in the maze, and all of them are speechless. Okay, nobody here has been brave enough to even see a griever after 3 years.
True.
And this kid has already killed one in less than 3 days. If that doesn't earn you instant respect from these guys, then I don't know what does. All this backpatting is making us forget a key detail here. If I was the new kid who just accomplished the impossible, I would be a little pissed off right now. Because when it mattered most, Min-ho here left this in the dust to save himself. This highlights a serious problem, because he seems to be the only person who knows the maze's layout, and if he's not trustworthy, then that's an unacceptable risk.
True.
Just like how monks would copy documents and manuscripts, it should be mandatory that everyone in this community memorize the layout of this maze, so that no matter what happens, it's never lost.
True.
This information might be the most valuable thing to our long-term survival, and it needs to be secured. If this runner has inhabited
the more people that know it, the better.
When his life is in danger, then we need to make sure we'll never have to rely on him for our survival ever again.
Yeah.
Now, Thomas had some great ideas that made him one of the first people to ever survive a night in the maze. Using the vines to pull the leader to safety was an excellent use of the environment to solve a life-threatening situation, but it also would have taken way too long.
Yeah.
First, they had to find the right vine, tie him up, and then pull him high enough to the top so he's out of sight. When you're running for your life, this is poor time management.
Yeah, definitely.
So much easier. It looks like there was plenty of room to hide all three of them under the vines.
Yeah, definitely. You should have done that.
With a solution as obvious as this, it really makes you wonder how nobody survived the night in the maze.
Yeah.
Because it's the maze runner equivalent to hiding under the bed. And it was still enough. I would have stayed here for the rest of the night until the sun rose and walked out of the maze a hero. All the boys gather in the town hall where the chief builder holds a meeting. He thinks they should punish the new kid for going into the maze without permission. Breaking the rules and killing grievers could be dangerous, but the others disagree, and Min-ho here suggests they make him a runner. Gally argues his point, but he's interrupted when an alarm starts blaring and they all rush outside to discover that the elevator is 27 days ahead of schedule.
Oh,
Inside,
okay, that's
the boys
weird.
find an unconscious girl lying on the floor, and in her hand is a note saying she's the last one ever. Suddenly,
if that's what I think it is, then that's messed up. I really hope that's not how that's gonna go. Because, well, look at this picture. There's at least 30 boys here, and 1 female. Yeah, this is a little bit gonna be, this is gonna turn into a blood match, isn't it? Yeah, it probably is. And by that logic, if they mean that this is going to be the last one ever, I'm guessing this is going to be the last person ever to come here. Or come from the elevator itself. So, let's continue.
Suddenly, the girl wakes up and calls a new kid by his name before passing out. The
She
chief builder
knows him.
thinks something bad is going to happen and that it's all Thomas's fault. The girl is taken to the medical hut and she still hasn't woken up. Thomas here asks the second in command about the note he found, but Newt here tries to downplay his worries and believes once this girl wakes up, they'll get their answers. The boy leaves and heads to the maze to find out more about the griever he killed.
Well,
and
not
Minho
bloodshed
here
so far,
wants to
so,
help. Finding others to join them, the group enters the maze to look for answers and reach the dead griever from last night. Thomas here notices that there's something flashing and the boys work together to pull it out of the wall. The runner reaches into one of the organs and finds an electric tracker with the number 7 glowing on a display. It's property of a company called WCKD, or Wicked, and the group decides to head back to the glade before more grievers
so this is
show up.
actually a very big
Okay, things are getting interesting, because this is their first clue that might help them escape, but it's also going to scare a lot of people in the community. From their perspective, things are moving way too fast, and that makes the chief builder's hesitation completely understandable. The problem is, they're in the middle of a death game, and just because they don't make any moves doesn't mean there isn't any danger. Now, this note here suggests the maze creators won't send up any more supplies or recruits. Eventually, there's going to be a shortage of resources, and that means we now have a deadline to escape. I would immediately take inventory of our supplies to calculate how much time we have to live, and to make sure we have a plan before we run out of resources and die. First, we should have as many
But couldn't they just start growing, like, crops and just start making more food? And couldn't they just... Doesn't it rain in there, too? So when it starts raining, they just catch water, too. And now as a girl, they could technically repopulate, too, I guess. Very weirdly, but still, they can repopulate. Ooh. 30 guys and 1 female. That's a interesting topic I'm not going to even go into. So, yeah, let's just ignore that. But it depends what type of food they have. If they have, like, just berries like that, can I just, like, use the seeds inside of berries and just start replanting? Unless berries don't have seeds, and that's fruit. I don't remember. But if they have fruit too, can I just plant the fruit? I mean, like, there's a lot of things they could do just to start making more food. But that food would take a little while to come, and depending on what season of year it is, it won't grow. Yada yada yada. Different food grows at different seasons. Yada yada yada. But well, okay, I can see the logic behind that again. Okay, let's continue though.
People as possible traveling into the maze to find an exit. But if we're going to be encountering more grievers, then we'll be needing better weapons. They have bamboo spears, which are very strong, but there's a way to make them even more deadly. I would go back to the griever's corpse and take its claws, tie one tightly to the end of my spear, and encourage the others to do the same. With 8 claws to each griever, we could raise an army with a much better chance at killing the other monsters we encounter.
True.
The next thing I would investigate is the elevator, because if the last shipment was sent, then it won't cost us anything to tamper with. The giant pulley here looks like it's made of thick rope, so I try to cut it to free the cage from the elevator's mechanics, and it might let us use that rope to manually lower someone down in the cage. Now, this is obviously a dangerous mission, because hacking the elevator to take the backdoor exit might be considered cheating, and whoever's setting things up could be waiting below to kill us when we reach the bottom. This is exactly why I would send someone else on this mission, but even in the worst case scenario, we're going to get more information than we had before based on how the maze creators respond. Returning to the glade, they show the tracker to the second in command, and he realizes that whoever made the grievers were the same people who sent up the supplies. The chief builder argues the new kid should be punished for breaking the glade's rules, and Newt here agrees, but first decides to make Thomas a runner, allowing him to explore the rest of the maze. Now officially a runner, Minho brings him into a hut, revealing a huge model of the maze. He's mapped every inch of the place, and there's no way out, but hasn't told anyone else in the glade. Now that they've killed a griever, the runner has finally figured something out that changes everything.
What?
The maze is divided into several sections with numbers painted on each wall from 1 to 8. A new section opens up every night in a particular sequence, and the griever they killed must have come from section 7. He thinks if they investigate that section, they'll figure out what's going on.
If there are 8 grievers in total, and they just killed number 7, if they could find that they're grievers, this would be based on the luck, though. Maybe if they could end up killing the other grievers, They will not quite will they? But still, who knows? Let's continue.
That's when these boys come into the hut and tell them that the girl is awake. They run outside and find the girl throwing rocks at the others from the watchtower, but when Thomas calls out his name, she stops. He climbs up the tower to talk, and she has no idea who anyone is, but knows her name is Teresa. He asks what else she remembers, and she recalls a woman saying wicked is good. Thomas reveals
wicked
he's
is
been having
good.
dreams of the
You
same thing.
captured almost, I'm going to say at least 37 people now, and using them as pretty much just chopped liver at this point as an experiment, I'm guessing, in a maze they can escape. And y'all are good. Yeah. Yeah, honey. You ain't good. You really ain't good. Sheesh. Are they the big ones at least? Those are really cool, actually.
And she was in all of them. She then pulls out 2 syringes from her pocket with the letters WCKD, just like the tracker they found, and Thomas realizes these might be an antidote for the poisoned leader. Okay, Thomas here was smart to put this information together, but he's about to make a terrible decision. It might be reasonable to assume that the vials were sent out because Albie was stung by a griever, but there's one problem with this logic. In the history of the Glade, they've never sent antidotes for anyone who's ever been stung. Yeah, true. So there's no reason to think that this case is any different. It's also very unlikely that the extra vial is just a backup, because this is not a place of extras and conveniences. It's a death maze, and you're lucky to even.
So that's right in there too.
This makes me think that the vials are not for the leader at all. It sounds cold-blooded, but I would not give Albie here an antidote, because there's no information that we need from him that makes him worth keeping alive. Right now, Min-Ho is the most important person in the Glade, because he knows the layout of the maze. But since he's already shown us his secret model, even he becomes disposable. We can't ignore that there were 2 people sent up that have memories of each other, and there are exactly 2 vials. If these 2 kids know more about this place than anyone else, then our top priority is to keep them alive at all costs. The maze creators only send up resources, not threats. So we know whatever the effects of this medicine are, it's going to be a net positive. So it should be safe for the 2 people who might have insider knowledge on what this experiment actually is.
Okay.
They show the antidote to the second in command, and after some convincing, he agrees to let them try to use it on the infected leader. But suddenly, the boy grabs Thomas by the collar and starts freaking out. The others rush in to hold him down, and the girl grabs the antidote and jams a syringe right into his gut. The leader starts to calm down, and the second in command orders a guard to watch over him, but that's when the chief builder, Gally, enters the hut to take the new kid to the pit for his night of punishment. Later that night, this little kid chugs some food and decides to show him a carving he made. He wants to give it to him because he thinks Thomas here has the best shot of getting out of here, and if he ever manages to escape the maze, he can send it to his parents on the outside. The new kid won't accept the gift, and makes him a promise that they'll all escape the maze together, but it's a promise he'll soon have to break. The next day, the new kid and the runner go to Section 7 deep inside the maze, discovering that it's open 1 week ahead of schedule. Inside, they find the bloodied remains of the runner who was banished days ago, and realize he was eaten by a griever. All of a sudden, the tracker they brought starts clicking, and Thomas here realizes that this device might show them a way to escape the maze. It guides them across a massive bridge, and they slowly walk to the end. But suddenly,
Let's say hi to the people. No, okay. You want back scratches. I see how it is. Well, I'm trying to make a video. He just sit right there like, I'll wait for you. I'm waiting. Alright, you can stay right there, I guess.
The tracker's light turns green, and behind them, a wall begins to open. They slowly approach the tunnel, but as soon as they reach the opening, a light shoots out and scans their bodies, detecting their presence. Suddenly, alarms start blaring, and the sound is terrifying. The boys run out as the walls close behind them. Just when they think they've escaped, the ground starts rising up beneath them, and they run for their lives. This maze is more dangerous than they even realize. They're absolutely helpless. They climb up a closing wall and crawl back into the maze, narrowly avoiding getting crushed to death.
Sheesh.
Okay.
Apparently he's not just...
Get close to the words of the prophets.
Yeah. Can you stop your jingle? Come on. Really? adorable little thing. Whatever, let's continue. Oh, you're
If
scared.
I was running through this maze, I'd be absolutely terrified.
Yeah,
if the entire
same.
floor can fold up and crush you, then it's not a place we should be spending a lot of
True.
time. And this is exactly why they need to climb the walls. If we look more closely at the journey they took to get here, we can see that there are grooves all over the place that would help them climb a lot more easily than from inside the glade.
True.
If we make it to the top, then we won't have to run for our lives every time we walk inside, and we can get a lot more done to find out how to escape. It will be challenging to cross the gaps and reach other sections, but this could easily be fixed by making a ladder bridge with rope and bamboo and bringing it into the maze. Even without cross-section beam support and load-bearing poles of a scaffolding, bamboo has a stronger tensile strength than steel,
Really?
20,000 pounds of force. We still have to
Wow,
deal with
okay.
because they're able to climb walls, but it's going to be a lot easier to
Do
avoid
you
them if you're
mind?
300 feet in the air where they don't notice you. Now, these
They
two
just
runners
not.
found a new section of the maze, and they even opened a gateway with this tracker. I'll be the first to admit that if I saw an open door here, I would take it and leave everyone else behind. But there's one detail here they missed that was telling them how to escape. As soon as they were scanned, the alarm sounded and the door closed. We know that it's not because they have the wrong tracker, so the most logical conclusion is that when the maze scanned them, they didn't have enough people to allow them to pass through. Going back to get more people is the only way to escape this
That
maze.
would make
Returning
sense,
to the
actually.
glade, they tell the others there might be an exit, but the chief builder thinks it could get all of them killed. Thomas here confronts him, pointing out that he's done more in 5 days than Gally has in 3 years.
He has
But
a
their
point
argument is
there.
interrupted when the girl tells them all that the leader is awake. In the medical hut, the new kid tells Albie here that they may have found a way out of the maze, but the leader says they can't leave. He's recovered all of his memories, and remembers that Thomas here was working with the maze creators before this. The kid can't believe what he's hearing, but they're all distracted when they hear yelling across the glade. Running outside, they realize that the doors to the maze won't close shut, and night is coming soon. This is the most dangerous thing that could have possibly happened, and there's nothing to stop the grievers from getting in. That's when all the other walls start to open up behind them, and the new kid realizes running is no longer an option.
No.
Suddenly, they hear a horrifying shriek and turn to see grievers heading straight towards them. Okay, I don't know about you, but these people are
God,
shockingly
no,
unprepared
this is
for
not
the
good, is
situation
it?
and should all be embarrassed. Personally, my very first instinct is to leave every single one of them in the dust and lock myself in the elevator alone to teach them all a lesson in survival. Unfortunately, the only way to escape this place is if we bring more people back to the scanner inside the maze.
True.
The best thing to do is gather the closest people and lead them to the elevator. As soon as it's full, I'm not opening the cage for anyone, not even my own grandmother.
Oh, wow,
Now, it's
that's
a bit too late at this point,
messed
but there are some
up.
very basic things I could have done to prevent a worst-case scenario like this. The key thing is having obstacles to stop anything from easily charging into the glade.
That would make
A common
sense.
technique to prevent this is the cheval de frise, which is a simple barricade of long wooden poles and could have been one of the first lines of defense. Secondly,
That makes
trenches
sense.
and ditches could have been used to give the gladers extra protection in case they needed to duck out of an attack. Instead of building a council hall, they could have dug bunkers. Every night they had to listen to the grievers' shrieks, and that would have been the first thing that crossed my mind. All they need is a place of safety to hide for a single night, and they couldn't even get that right. Everyone scatters across
Well, they
the
are
glade in
just
a
like
panic,
teenagers,
and
I'm
Thomas
guessing,
here runs
too,
through the
so.
cornfield as the monsters start picking people off. He finally makes it across the glade and reaches the leader in the medical hut, but more grievers start surrounding them, and there are too many to fight off. Together, they all run towards the council hall, but one of the creatures comes crashing through a building and stops them in their tracks. They have nowhere to run, but without hesitation, the girl throws a lantern at its face and sets it on fire.
Wow.
It makes it to the council hall, barricading the doors behind them, and they all think they're safe. But that's when a griever shows up and breaks in through the roof. Suddenly, Chuck here gets grabbed by the griever's tail and is about to be poisoned, but the leader hacks its stinger off and cuts him loose.
Wow,
They all think it's
okay.
over, but the monster attacks again and yanks the leader out of the hut. The new kid tries to hold on to him, but with his dying words, Albie here tells him to set the boys free. The griever yanks him out, and Thomas runs outside to look for him, but Albie's gone, and the glade is in ruins. Outside, the chief builder walks right up to the new kid and punches him hard in the face, blaming him for everything that happened. Standing up, Thomas here wonders if he might be right, but that's when he notices that the monster's stinger is still intact. He remembers that the leader's memory returned after he was poisoned and has a crazy idea. Desperate for answers to escape the maze, the kid jams the stinger into his stomach and collapses to the ground as the poison begins to take effect. Okay, this was horrible timing. First of all, it's not a terrible idea to inject yourself with the poison and the antidote. He saw clear evidence that it restored all of Albie's memories, and that makes it totally worth it. The problem is that right now, he needs to be fighting for the future of the Glade, and poisoning himself is going to make it impossible to control what happens next.
True.
When he passes out, Gally could take over and banish him into the maze if he wants to. If the chief builder was mad enough, he might even confiscate the antidote before Thomas here could get treated with it. He has no control over the situation at this moment, and that makes it a terrible idea.
Yeah.
I would have waited to resolve the fight with Gally and found a safe place to test this poison in a controlled environment. Now, having said that, there's a much bigger cost to this than anyone even realizes.
What?
Right now, our only priority is to get as many people as possible to follow us into the maze so we can escape through that doorway. But that's going to be a lot more difficult when we've just been viciously attacked by grievers.
True.
If we're the new kid, we should assume that everyone will be blaming us for this horrible situation, because as soon as we arrived, everything started changing, and now they don't even have a home.
Yeah.
We need to make sure we can get everyone to trust us enough to escape together, and that's exactly why I would put all the blame on Gally, the chief builder. This whole time, he's been making the point that the maze is too dangerous to explore and doesn't want anyone to leave.
He has
He's also the
a
chief
valid
builder, so
point
he has
there.
The most knowledge and experience to build defensive structures.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
fact that this griever attack even
And this is
happened
sort of
is
his
a
fault,
strong
kind
case
of.
that Gally should not be leading anyone. He had 3 years to plan for their protection and prepare the Glade for a possible attack, but he did absolutely nothing to prevent it. I would use this to drive all the survivors against him, and once they realize there's no point in staying in the ruins of their home, they'll leave Gally here in his empire of dirt and join his to help us all escape. He wakes up the next morning locked inside the pit to find his friends staring down at him from outside the cage. They tell him that the chief builder Gally has become the new leader and has forced everyone to choose between joining him or being banished. He has convinced the boys that Thomas is the cause of all of their problems, and that's when the new kid drops a truth bomb on them. The poison has made him remember everything, and he reveals that he and the girl were working with the maze creators to help study all the kids in the Glade for 3 years in a massive experiment. Everyone is shocked, but the second in command says whoever he used to be doesn't matter, and right now all they need to focus on is survival. Later, the prisoners are brought out to the maze's entrance to be banished, but the others start to question if the new kid might be right. The chief builder Gally tells them there is no escaping this place, and since Thomas has disturbed the peace, he's going to sacrifice them to the grievers so that everything will go back to the way it was before. Gally here orders these 2 boys to tie the kid up, but when they grab him, he attacks, and his friends suddenly join in the fight, stopping the chief builder from intervening. They all realize that there's no going back to the way things were before, and Thomas is their last and only chance to escape. The new kid announces they're going to leave, and tells the other boys that they can't stay here forever, but he's certain he knows how to escape. They run through the maze with Thomas guiding them until they reach the same bridge they visited before in Section 7. Spotting a griever at the end of the walkway, they fearlessly rush forward and attack it, working together to fight it off with their spears. The little kid and the girl run to the door with the tracking device when suddenly a wall opens up and they head deeper inside the tunnel. More grievers arrive and the boys can barely hold them off. But that's when a holographic display lights up with 8 numbers flashing, and the girl tells Thomas that they need a code to enter. Realizing it's the maze's pattern, the runner here yells out the answer as the group retreats into the tunnel, and when the girl inputs the final number, the walls squish the grievers to death. Suddenly, a door swings open, and they walk in to find a research lab with dead scientists all over the floor. Watching a video log recorded by the director of Wicked, he finds out that most of human civilization was destroyed by a solar flare, then an incurable virus spread, but only a very small percentage of the remaining population was immune to it. Wicked used the maze as an experiment to observe their behavior and try to figure out why these kids were so unique. All the kids were lab rats, and the video log ends with the woman taking the coward's way out as armed soldiers stormed the lab. Okay, this is a horrifying revelation, but there's one detail here that I find even more upsetting. When the group walked into the room, the runner kicked the gun away from the dead guard as though he knew it was a dangerous weapon, but he didn't even consider picking it up.
True.
If it were me, I would have ordered them all to loot the bodies for both information and weapons. Most of them wouldn't know how to
that would
fire
have been a really good idea
because
you
could. But Thomas
a gun is better than a spear. Number 1, it's ranged, so you have that. Number 2, it's deadly, so you have that. So
memory is restored, so he could easily teach them how to use it. At
True.
the very least, if the outside world is a wasteland with a dangerous virus that turns people into rage zombies, we're going to be needing much more than spears and machetes.
Yeah.
Suddenly, the door to the outside world opens, and Thomas here is about to lead them out, when Gally appears behind them and tells them to stop. The chief builder has been stung by a griever and points his gun at the kid. Just as he's about to pull the trigger, the little kid jumps in front of his friend to protect him as the runner throws his spear straight into the builder's chest. But Chuck here caught the bullet. He falls to the floor, and the little kid gives him the wooden carving to deliver to his parents, using his last moments to thank Thomas for his friendship. It's heartbreaking, but before they have time to mourn, armed soldiers run in and drag the group outside. The children are escorted into a helicopter that takes off, giving them all a view of the maze from above. They finally get to see where they've all been living for 3 years in a single view, and it's way bigger than they ever imagined. Meanwhile, the director of Wicked is still alive. She was faking her death this whole time and reveals to a boardroom that the maze trials were a success, but phase 2 will now begin. But what do you
Phase
think?
2? What? That was phase 1? Then what is phase 2? Okay. This video is actually a lot longer than I thought it was. But it's almost an hour now. And Puppy Dog is still here. So, yeah. Alright, that happened. So, yeah. Alright, so, yeah. Yeah. Okay, so, no further ado, I'll see you guys next video. See you guys then. Bye. Oh, wait, before that happens. If you guys have any other reactions you want me to do to just game theory, more of these, yada yada, please comment down in the description down below. I'll gladly do a reaction on those. Mainly because a video that I don't have any insight on is a better reaction. At least in my opinion. Because I'll have no forewarning whatsoever. So it'll be a little bit more interesting, to say the least, my reaction on certain type of video. So if you guys do have any reactions you want me to do, then please comment down in the comments down below. I'll go out with your reaction on them. Alright, so no further ado, I'll see you guys in the next reaction. See you guys then. Bye.